Today, I'm going to teach you how to wet sand a scratch out of your vehicle's paint in 4 easy steps: clean, sand, polish, and protect. Getting a scratch in your vehicle's paint is disheartening 100% of the time, without a doubt, but today I'm going to show you how 9 times out of 10 you can either fully remove that scratch or remove it to a point where it's basically invincible to the naked eye with just a few easy steps. First one being cleaning the panel. You could go ahead and wash your whole vehicle, but all you're really going to need is that panel that the scratch is on to be clean. Now that the surface is clean, we can properly identify our defect or our scratch. So with regular wash marring and swirls that you see on basically any vehicle, those defects were created by such light contact that they're only ever so slightly into the clear coat, meaning you can just compound them, polish them, and they'll typically be removed without a problem. What we're dealing with today is going to be a deeper scratch, something that actually really penetrates the surface of the clear coat and creates a gouge. When you have a deeper gouge in the paint, basically you have a valley and mountains on the side, the mountains being the clear coat that the object actually pushed to the side as it was digging into the paint, and that's really where your problem lies. So now you have all these different angles for sunlight or lights in a shop to refract off of, making these scratches look worse. When you have different angles of clear coat, that's what really makes the scratch stand out and kind of have that white look you often see. So today's goal is to fix that. And the fix isn't always to fully sand out the scratch. A lot of times, more so than not, it's not necessarily safe to fully sand out a scratch. It just leaves you with such minimal clear coat. But what you can do is sand it smooth so that those mountains are completely leveled out and that gouge that you might have left over is so minimal that it may be invisible to the naked eye, or in some cases it can be removed if it's not so deep. But the goal really is to keep it safe and just have the vehicle looking as good as possible with a healthy amount of clear coat on that. So the way to figure out if the scratch is going to come out with a polish or if it's going to need wet sanding is typically to run your nail over it and see if it catches. If it sketches, it's going to need some sanding. So in our case, my nail caught on the scratch, so what we're going to go ahead and do is sand. Now there's a million different grits of sandpaper. You could start at 1,000, move to 15, 2,000, 25, 3K, 4K, 5K, 8K. It's not always necessary. Abrasives now are so good that they can perfectly handle 2,000 grit scratches, so what we're going to do today is just stick to 2,000 grit for the start and the finish when it comes to the sanding. This will 9 times out of 10 remove a scratch on vehicle paint without a problem. So this is 3M 2,000 grit sandpaper. This is a KXK Dynamics sanding block. This is a soft one. If you don't have these, basically all you need is something to wrap the sandpaper around to give you a nice uniform grit in the paint, and then some sort of lubricant. You can use water, a light dish detergent, or soap. This is Optimum No Rinse. We're going to spray the panel down and work in a 45 or a diagonal pattern across the scratch, probably doing about 5 to 10 passes up and down it. The goal is to not remove the scratch within the sanding paper. That's pretty much going to be impossible. You'll always be able to see it, but when you go to polish is when you'll be able to see that it is removed or not visible anymore. So we're going to go 5 to 10 passes, diagonal patterns, so basically perpendicular to the scratch. This typically will just give you the best result and really knock down those mountains that the gouge has created. We'll dry it, see how it looks. An indicator that the scratch is probably gone is you'll stop feeling it as you pass it. You don't want to apply any pressure, so you'll really feel any small change in the clear coat, and once it's smooth, you should be good to move on to the polishing step. As you're sanding, you'll see this white slurry. This is basically just meaning that the clear coat is being removed. It turns to that white color when it's mixed with the lubricant that you're using for the sanding. This is good. We want this. It means we're removing clear coat and getting out that scratch. as you get towards the end, it's good to feather out your sanding. Don't keep it just on the scratch. Kind of work outward so you're not creating a deeper gouge yourself with the sandpaper. You're feathering it out so that when you go to polish this, you're not going to see a defined area where you sanded. It'll blend in with the rest of the panel without a problem. So as I mentioned before, you may see part of the scratch in the actual sanding mark still, but I ran my finger over that and I can't actually feel it anymore, which is very evident that it probably will come out when we go to the polishing stage, which we're gonna do now. When it comes to the polishing step, you pretty much have unlimited options to remove those sanding scratches from the paint and reveal your new scratch-free clear coat. So you could just take a microfiber towel, put some compound on it, and work away at it. It's going to require some patience, but ultimately you will be able to remove those sanding scratches eventually. It's just going to need some time. And also, I must add, the compound you use is going to need to have enough abrasive in it to remove the sanding scratches that you put in the paint. So if you use 2K, I'd recommend a compound that can remove up to 1,000 grit sanding scratches. It's just going to be a bit easier. This one, Fast Correcting Cream by Griots, which will be linked in the description below with the Carzilla code Chromatic for 5% off, will be able to do this no problem. So you can use microfiber towel in your hand, a DA, a 3-inch, which we're going to be using today, a 5-inch, a rotary, a cordless, whatever you want, something that spins with a pad on it, and you can use some compound. It will be able to remove those scratches. So whatever you have access to is probably going to work for this, which I think is pretty cool. Like I said, today we're going to use a 3-inch with a Rupes wool pad, Fast Correcting Cream. I'm going to do one cutting cycle, then I'm going to throw a polishing pad on it and polish it. This isn't necessary. The scratch will be gone after the compounding. But if the vehicle is polished like my Cayenne is, you're going to want to go ahead and polish up after, just so you have an equal finish across the vehicle. So Fast Correcting Cream on the Rupes wool pad, on the Rupes LHR 75E. We're going to do a couple cycles and see what we're looking like. Just like that, our scratch is completely dissolved. There's no remnants of it whatsoever. And as I mentioned before, if you were to go in there with a microscope, you may be able to see a little ridge or a little ditch where that scratch was, but it was reduced to a point where there isn't any light refraction to make it noticeable to the naked eye. And that's exactly what we want. We went in with the mildest method possible. Little light sand, removed very little clear coat, compound the scratches out, and we're good. So you could leave it like this. You could go on with your day, but for the sake of preservation and detailing, I think it's important to add a little bit of protection after you do sanding and polishing work. So for this, I'm just gonna add P&S bead maker, rub it in, and then this panel is finished up. just like that, 4 steps, about 5 minutes each. So in about 20 minutes, you should be able to handle a single scratch on your vehicle without fail. My biggest suggestion, most people's muscle memory with sanding is probably going to be on wood or metal, a surface that's much harder and doesn't really have a clear coat or a surface substrate that you can burn through. This does. So you're going to want to be as delicate as you can possibly be. Sand a little bit, polish and remove those sanding scratches, and see if you're happy with that result. Always do less sanding than you think you're going to need to do. Just because the scratch is bigger or deeper doesn't mean sand more, it just means be even more cautious. So sand a little bit, polish it out, see if you're happy with that result, and I'm pretty much positive you will be. In almost every case, that scratch is going to be removed or improved drastically with just a little bit of sanding. A lot of detailers and auto body professionals are going to gatekeep wet sanding. If you'll bring a vehicle to them with a sanding or a scratch in it, they're going to tell you that they need to take care of it, but that is just business, I guess. However, I think you guys can handle it at home. All it literally is moving your hand like this and holding a polisher. As long as you have the proper tools, almost every time it's going to be cheaper for you to do at home, and I think it's very rewarding. Solving problems on your own vehicle, saving money, saving time, bringing it places is always a lot better. So I think you guys can do it, and it's a lot of fun. This sanding video isn't to improve texture. This is just scratches. There's going to be a video in the future describing how to remove texture, which is a much more complicated process, a lot more precision, but with scratches, it's pretty easy. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We'll have a texture one coming up soon.